You asked for it, and now you gotta deal with it. Chille DeCastro's hiatus continued for most of the week as he got smacked down in court on Tuesday with not a peep out of the YouTuber. Will the silence last as we go over all his current court cases? Survey says nope. Blaine Myers appears to file paperwork indicating that he may be using his civil appeal of a civil protection order to try to overturn his criminal charges. The ones he's taking a plea deal next week on? What the what? Craig Hendry wants $10,000 of your money in the name of liberty. Says you must contribute if you love liberty, as it's his only way out of jail in Sullivan County, Indiana. Plus, Chille DeCastro does not one but two Saturday morning live streams from the streets. The dirty streets featuring dirty coppas. Oh, you're a wise guy, eh? Nyuck, nyuck, nyuck. I'm your humble newsreader, Pants. You're a mighty fine-looking young specimen. I'm gonna put you under my gigantic microscope of love as we are set to experience auditing insanity. Jose Chille DeCastro shared good news on an otherwise bad Tuesday for the YouTube personality, civil rights activist, and future governor of an undetermined state, as he posted that his niece was on her way to recovery. DeCastro posted to his YouTube community page, "Update. My niece is out of the woods. On my way to Henderson 3 days ago, the doctors told it's likely was not going to make it. Today, she off the ventilator and begging for a burrito. Oh my God, I love this woman so much. Thank you for your prayers, thoughts, emails, texts, phone calls. I'm grateful. You can imagine the pain and anguish my family has been through. Imagining life without her, we could not see a future without her in it. Her 4 kids are 7, 3, 2, and 2 months. She has an active role as guardian for her 9-year-old nephew. That's 5 kids who she takes to wrestling, swimming, gymnastics, the park, birthdays. My nephew and I had been sharing tear-filled video calls. Right this second, my nephew, her brother, and I sit next to her telling her, no, you cannot have a burrito. Burrito emoji. Thank you for your thoughts and prayers. I'll be back in LA before Friday. Maybe I'll get a hot audit while I'm here in Vegas. Thank you, Team DLZ. And even a couple trolls emailed me, you know I hate you, Chille, but I hope your niece is okay. Dude, thank you for that, thank God. This was a nightmare that now seems hopefully has passed. DeCastro had announced his dramatic departure from live streaming for the foreseeable future late Sunday night after he had traveled to Henderson, Nevada, to be at his niece's bedside after she was stricken with eclampsia and fallen into a coma. The diminutive YouTuber had previously explained that the condition was brought about by preeclampsia during her pregnancy, and she was just days away from being in the clear when she fell ill. Critics of DeCastro questioned the story, as DeCastro has used unverifiable stories of personal or family tragedies to excuse himself from times of stress or allow himself an excuse to skip legal proceedings. Past unverifiable stories included multiple near-death experiences related to his dog Charlie, his mother's supposed falling incident at a family reunion, and his own battle with high blood pressure that allowed him to cancel a cage match with Officer Chad Gue of Ironton, Ohio Police Force. Currently, DeCastro's community has been split by his anti-ICE stance in regard to the LA anti-immigration crackdown demonstrations and his newly filed lawsuit about fellow auditors Josh Accountability for All Abrams and Dale Lackluster Hiller. The pause also allows him to have another significant delay in the production of his promised Constitution Headquarters board game. The game, which DeCastro had sold based on release dates starting at Thanksgiving of 2024, had been recently delayed again, as he revealed that he had never had a complete version of the game, nor financing for the first print run in place. DeCastro received further bad news on Tuesday as a new motion and new ruling in two different cases may prove problematic. Starting with the motion that was filed in his refiling of his lawsuit against members of the police force in Ironton and Lawrence County, Ohio, in a Nevada-based court. The Lawrence County-based defendants have again asked for the charges against them to be dismissed. The defendants filed a motion to dismiss on March 25th, 2025. The judge in the case ordered on March 26th that DeCastro's response to the motion was due 14 days after their filing. The next day, the Ironton defendants filed their motion to dismiss, and DeCastro was also told to file a response to their motion within 14 days. DeCastro failed to respond to either motion within the required time limit, and instead filed a motion to extend the time to respond to the Lawrence County defendants on April 14th, and had that motion granted on April 16th. His new due date was May 12th. He repeated the process with the Ironton defendants on April 30th. However, on the same day he filed his response to the Ironton defendants' motion to dismiss. He referred to the Ironton filing document in the response and clearly stated that the reply was to the Ironton defendants. To date, he has yet to file a response to the Lawrence County defendants. Because it's been over a month since he missed the deadline to reply, the Lawrence County defendants are now asking for their motion to dismiss be granted due to his lack of reply. Things get a bit messier with the developments in his long-time lawsuit against the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Both DeCastro and the defendants were ordered to work together on a joint proposed pretrial order by Judge Andrew P. Gordon with a deadline of June 20th. On June 20th, instead of filing a joint pretrial order, both parties filed individual pretrial orders. The LVMPD defendants filed first, blaming DeCastro for lack of response to their inquiries by the 16th of June, resulting in their need to file alone. DeCastro's attorney, Michael Mee, blamed the LVMPD defendants, claiming that he had not received any paperwork until June 20th. He said that the attorney for the LVMPD was not available to work on a last-minute document on June 20th, which caused him to file alone. On Tuesday, Judge Gordon ruled, "It is ordered that the parties' proposed pre-trial orders are rejected. The parties shall confer as required in Local Rule 16.3. DeCastro's attorney must take the lead in preparing the proposed joint pretrial order, and the parties must submit a joint pretrial order that complies with Local Rules 16.3 and 16.4 by July 14th, 2025. Proposed joint pretrial order due by July 14th. Signed by Chief Judge Andrew P. Gordon on June 24, 2025. With family and legal issues stacking, we'll be monitoring DeCastro's next moves as he returns to Los Angeles at the end of the week. Jailed YouTuber Lane Myers' new filing in his appeal of a protective order granted to Shannon Walker has some wondering if he is intending to challenge the plea deal he agreed to earlier in the month that saw him give up the right to challenge his convictions from said plea deal. In a new filing released by the Arizona Court of Appeals Division 2, Myers filed for a motion to extend time limits to file his opening brief in the case. A second filing, attached to the first, asked for leave to file his opening brief past the proposed June 17th extension he asked for in the first filing. Myers blamed ongoing issues with receiving indigent mail supplies and envelopes while within the Pima County Adult Correctional Facility for his repeated delays in filing. He explained that he was significantly impacted by the correctional facility's inability to adequately provide him with the resources and supplies he needed to take part in his defense. It is notable that Myers is claiming indigent status in order to be eligible for free supplies. The same supplies are available to all inmates through purchase at the correctional facility's commissary. As Myers brought in $940 in donations to his Give Send Go account in May, and another $1,296 this month in new donations, it is unclear how he is eligible to take part in the indigent program, as he's clearly making enough money to meet his commissary needs while incarcerated. Myers is acting as his own legal representative in both his criminal cases and the appeal of the protective order. His new filings have made some question his acceptance of the conditions of the plea deal he agreed to a day before filing the new motion in his appeal. Previously, Myers had argued in the criminal case based on his violation of the protective order at the heart of the appeal that he needed to be released from jail as he could not adequately participate in his own defense due to resource limits from jail. Myers accepted a plea deal on June 9th, which saw him agree to plead guilty to 2 felony counts, including one aggravated harassment charge based on violating the protective order he's challenging. In the June 10th filing for his appeals case, Myers confusingly states, "This appeal is very important due to the collateral consequences of Mr. Myers being incarcerated for the charges of aggravated harassment based on an alleged act of harassment committed while this unconstitutional injunction is in place. Mr. Myers must get this injunction vacated in order to be able to attack the validity of the criminal charges currently holding him incarcerated. The statement clearly indicates that Myers intends to fight the charges that he is set to accept a plea deal for. This apparently puts Myers in violation of the plea deal, as he accepted the following stipulation by taking the plea. Quoting, "Waiver of appellate rights. I hereby waive any right to raise and or appeal any and all motions, defenses, probable cause determinations, restitution orders, and objections which I have asserted or could assert to this prosecution and to the court's entry of judgment against and imposition of sentence upon me consistent with this negotiated agreement. I expressly waive any objections, motions, or defenses based upon the statute of limitations, Rule 8, Arizona Rules of Criminal Procedure, or the Double Jeopardy Clause, or any other constitutional restrictions on bringing of charges." On Tuesday, Myers was granted an extension until July 17th to file his opening brief. It is unclear how his plea deal will impact the progress of his appeal of the protective order. In related news, after pulling in a $100 donation over the weekend, Myers' GiveSendGo account saw no donations for a second straight day. The market appears to have entered a renewed goose egg market, with none of the campaigns we follow receiving new donations for the same period. This is a breaking news story. The absence of Jose Chille DeCastro from live streaming has left a void in his fans' hearts, as he is tending to family members and not enlightening their lives with 3+ hour diatribes on the evils of modern policing. DeCastro's absence, however, is not without controversy, as he has several deadlines and an entire missing board game that may have his fans overly concerned. His Constitution Headquarters board game tops the list for currently promised but missing items. Originally promised for a Thanksgiving 2024 release, it soon slipped to Christmas 2024, then January, February, March, April, May 2025. In late May, DeCastro changed the release date to September on a new product page that also promises an April release date and a May release date for the Teacher's Edition. By early June, DeCastro had backed off any promises for shipping, as it was revealed that the game was incomplete, and he did not have a backer to provide him with the $150,000 he needed for the initial print run. Late May was also a bad time for DeCastro's ongoing lawsuit in California Superior Court against Michael Blue Bacon Peratini, Kate Peter, Team Skeptic, and Daniel Clement. DeCastro had filed to dismiss the case without prejudice to the opposition of Peratini, who was seeking terminating sanctions against DeCastro, along with DeCastro to be held accountable for the monetary sanctions he's received during the lawsuit. A late May court date was supposed to end in settlement talks between the two parties, but after a month, no deal has been agreed to. The next hearing in that case was set for July 14th, and in a telling sign, the trial date setting hearing is focusing on Kate Peter instead of Peratini. Peter was found in default by the court clerk for not responding to DeCastro's summons in 2023. Judge H.J. Ford III never proceeded with hearings on the default, which could turn it into a default judgment. Peter herself has contested the default in public, stating that she was not properly served in the case. DeCastro's lawsuit against former Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman and Judge Michelle Levitt is also at a standstill. DeCastro is suing in Las Vegas over Zimmerman's alleged violation of his rights when she had him searched before a court hearing, and Levitt's refusal to have a hearing to set him free of a conviction by Zimmerman during the appeals process. While DeCastro had filed the lawsuit back in May, he seems to be dragging his feet with the case, only filing for electronic services access and his certificate of interested parties last week. He had twice announced that he would be serving all the parties in the case, quote, next week, unquote, and gave various numbers on how much money he'd need from his fans to fund the service. As of week's end, no service has been made to any of the parties DeCastro is currently suing. DeCastro's latest lawsuit against Dale Lackluster Hiller, Josh Accountability for All Abrams, and Kate Peter is also at a standstill. When DeCastro filed the suit in early June, he claimed he put the wrong date in for the incident, which would have the incident's statute of limitations pass before he filed the case. He asked for and was granted the ability to update the complaint with the correct filing date back on June 11. To date, no corrected complaint has been filed. No summons has been filed to any of the parties, nor has DeCastro updated his supposed planned talks with Hiller for a settlement in the case. In possibly a huge blunder on his part, DeCastro's lawsuit against the city of Ironton, Ohio, and Lawrence County, Ohio, currently may be falling apart due to an unforced error. The Lawrence County defendants filed to have their motion to dismiss granted this week after DeCastro has failed to respond to the motion for over 2 months. While technically DeCastro was originally granted a month more to respond to their motion, the deadline for the extension passed over a month ago, leaving his defendants in limbo. Long-time followers of the original case have stated that they're having flashbacks to that case. In that case, DeCastro failed to respond to multiple orders to show cause against the Lawrence County defendants and ultimately had his case dismissed based on his failure to do so. Finally, inexplicably, as DeCastro still employs Michael Mee to represent him in the case, his lawsuit against the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department hit a snag last week as Judge Andrew P. Gordon rejected the dueling proposed pretrial orders submitted by the parties in the lawsuit. Gordon had ordered the parties to come together to file a joint proposed pretrial order by June 20th. Under the local rules 16-3 and 16-4, the burden was on DeCastro's attorney to take the lead in preparing the document. According to the filing by the LVMPD's attorney, their portion of the document was submitted to DeCastro's team by June 16th. When they did not hear back by June 20th, they filed their individual motion. Michael Mee, filing his own document for DeCastro, blamed the LVMPD and said that he had not heard from the LVMPD by June 20th, despite their claim otherwise. and was forced to file his own document as the LVMPD's attorney was unable to meet with him at the last minute. Me now has until July 14th to submit the proposed joint pretrial order. Erica Brown, Craig Hendry's girlfriend and mother of his 2 children, released a video statement on Friday updating her boyfriend's current status in the Sullivan County, Indiana jail as he awaits movement to the Greene County, Indiana jail. Brown, concerning fans as she used a heavy filter on her phone to alter her normal image, apologized to Hendry's fans for not updating Hendry's status following her live stream earlier in the month. According to Brown, Vermilion County officials lied to her when they said that the system controlling the chirp texting and video calling devices were down on the date of her planned live stream with her boyfriend from the Vermilion County Jail. Instead, she verified Jose Chille DeCastro's report that Hendry had been placed in lockdown for an unspecified violation and was unable to make their video date to address Hendry's fans. As Hendry was finishing out his sentence for harassment and stalking charges in Vermilion County, Indiana, the Vermilion County Jail had to be evacuated last week due to an air conditioning issue during an extreme heat wave. Hendry was sent to Sullivan County to serve out his Vermilion County time and had enough time to record the address that Brown would later play before going back into segregation for 30 days due to another unspecified violation of the Sullivan County Jail's policies. The jailed YouTuber then announced that he would be suing Sullivan County, much like he's suing Vermilion County for lack of due process. He claimed the new punishment was imposed without having a conduct adjustment board hearing, which he claimed was required before jailers could impose a new punishment on him. He added that the claim that he was also roughed up by guards during his time in Sullivan County and would be filing for the footage of the beating he allegedly received for use in the lawsuit. Brown would echo this claim when later in the video, saying she feared things would end badly for Hendry if he did not make bond for these charges in Sullivan County. Updating his court cases, Hendry explained that he would be heading back to Vermilion County to serve out his time for harassment and stalking charges. He would then be transferred to Greene County, where a friend would pay $1,000 to bail him out on charges of making a false complaint against a law enforcement officer. Instead of being set free, Hendry would then be transferred back to Sullivan County, where he has a $12,000 bond for charges of intimidation, disorderly conduct, and refusing to leave an emergency incident area. Hendry made a direct plea to those who loved liberty, as he had made $2,000 towards the $12,000 bond, but needed the rest so he could be freed to see his children and his girlfriend. He implored his fans to make direct cash donations via PayPal and Cash App, and completely ignored both his and Chille DeCastro's GoFundMe campaigns. After Hendry's statement was completed, Brown was back to claim that she had been on the phone with Hendry the night before when he ended the call abruptly after hearing voices outside his cell. He had yet to call her back as promised after that incident. She implored Hendry's fans to donate on behalf of their family, as she needed time with her man before she is facing the risk of losing him for up to 4 years if convicted of all the charges against him. As expected, with Hendry and Brown apparently abandoning the GoFundMe format, both Hendry's own GoFundMe campaign and Jose Chille DeCastro's GoFundMe on Hendry's behalf saw no donations for the week. Clash with Bao took Thursday with a $25 donation to his legal defense fund, while Sean Paul Long Island Audit Reyes took Friday with a $25 of his own to his general campaign against tyranny and oppression. We will continue to monitor Hendry's ongoing adventures within Indiana's jail system. Reconnecting with his fans, Jose Chille DeCastro returned to filming his street walking sessions early Saturday morning as he live streamed twice in Los Angeles at two different traffic stops. DeCastro first went live Saturday morning at the scene of a pullover for a minor traffic infraction. The driver, later identified as Harry, was driving without a license and ultimately had the car he was driving impounded. The diminutive YouTuber spoke with Los Angeles County Sheriff Deputy Luis Berrios for most of the stream, exchanging friendly banter as Berrios recognized DeCastro from a previous encounter. DeCastro went through his usual motions of now cliché questions, starting with Berrios's thoughts on the G.I. Joe loser tactical gear Berrios wore as part of his uniform. The YouTuber chastised the deputy as Berrios admitted he only used his radio and body cam on a regular basis and only had to tase someone 2 times in his entire career. Turning to handcuffs, DeCastro again reminded his viewers that once his board game and his site to bail people out of jail was completed, he'd turn his attention to his invention that he says will replace handcuffs. The YouTuber began to explain his device to the deputy, but became distracted as the driver involved in the traffic stop was being released from detention. DeCastro shook the hands of the 3 police officers on the scene before leaving and offered the driver a ride home. The pair were getting in his vehicle as the live stream ended. DeCastro's second live stream again started with an encounter with police, this time with a member of the Los Angeles Police Department. The officer was providing security for a simple stop where a brake light was out. Getting few responses from the officer, DeCastro interacted with the driver, who thanked him for filming. The driver said the ticket was just a reminder to fix his brake light, which the driver admitted had been out for weeks. Strangely, while DeCastro's first stream in vertical format did 9,000 plus views at press time, the second video, again in vertical format, has seen only 122 views. No mention was made of DeCastro's niece, who he said he was taking care of following her going into a coma over the weekend from complications of eclampsia. The last update DeCastro provided was that she was out of the coma and demanding a burrito. That was on Wednesday. The YouTuber made no mention of the status of his board game or his possible efforts to open a Kickstarter campaign to seek the funding for the print run. With the September shipping date fast approaching, it is unclear if his dozens of pre-orders will be fulfilled. DeCastro also failed to mention his Cash App, PayPal, or GoFundMe accounts in the streams, which contributed to another technical loss for DeCastro in Saturday's crowdsourcing take. Geese have taken over again as the market saw goose eggs for Saturday, with no donations recorded to any of the campaigns we follow. The inability to promote his newest campaign has left his take at $60 for the month, with no new donations to his Time to Sue the Corrupt, Unprincipled Judge and Zimmerman campaign for several weeks. It is unclear if DeCastro has given up on his hopes of funding a subscription to Westlaw AI, as he again failed to mention the campaign on either live stream. This is a breaking news story. We need your help. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, feeding the cats, defending ourselves from lawsuit threats, and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, you can do so via a donation to our PayPal, Cash App, or GoFundMe accounts. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our videos from beginning to end, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.